Welcome back. Today, we're going to travel way back in time to the ancient Near East because I want to tackle a huge question. How does a small, kind of regular kingdom turn into a world-changing empire? Well, the Assyrians, they pretty much wrote the playbook on it, using this incredible mix of new tech, brilliant strategy, and just ruthless ambition. So yeah, how does that happen? How do you go from being just another kingdom on the map to a full-blown empire? I can tell you it's not magic, and it's definitely not just luck. It takes the right tools, for sure, but it also takes a completely radical new way of thinking about power. And honestly, the Assyrians are the perfect case study for this. So for centuries, you have to picture the ancient Near East as this crowded, messy map of all these kingdoms competing with each other. And Assyria, which is in modern-day northern Iraq, was really just another player in the game. Nothing all that special. But then, something fundamental shifted. Something that allowed them to completely tear up the old rulebook and write a brand new one. And that big change? It all started with a technological breakthrough, a new material that would literally reshape the world and give the Assyrians a sharp, and I mean sharp, decisive edge over all their rivals. This right here really shows you the massive leap we're talking about. Before this, warfare was a Bronze Age thing. And you gotta remember, bronze is an expensive alloy. It's difficult to make, which means only a small elite force could ever be properly armed. But iron? Whoa. Iron was abundant. It was cheaper, it was stronger, and it was way easier to work with. That one simple fact changed literally everything. It meant the Assyrians could suddenly equip massive armies, not just a handful of elite warriors. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The true power of iron wasn't just about having a slightly better sword. It was about scale. It basically democratized warfare. It let the Assyrians build these enormous armies that could simply overwhelm their Bronze Age neighbors. But, technology by itself isn't enough. A huge pile of iron swords isn't going to conquer a city on its own. The Assyrians' true genius was in building an entire system, a military machine that was specifically designed to take full advantage of their new tech. Think of it like this. The iron weapons were the hardware, right? The cool new piece of kit. But the Assyrians developed a revolutionary new operating system to run them. And that system is what turned their army from just a simple fighting force into a relentless engine of conquest. We're not talking about just a mob with iron swords here. I mean, look at the organization on this slide. The Assyrians built a professional, standing army. These weren't farmers you just called up for a fighting season. They had a clear command structure, they completely mastered siege warfare so they could break down any city wall, and they used this brutal psychological warfare, just broadcasting their cruelty to make their enemies surrender without even putting up a fight. And all of this was supported by a super sophisticated supply chain that just kept their war machine humming. So what happens when you combine that superior technology with a sophisticated professional military machine? Well, you get expansion on a scale that had never, ever been seen before. You get an empire that was forged, quite literally, in war. And when we talk about Assyrian expansion, let's be really clear. We are not talking about setting up friendly trade routes or peaceful alliances. For them, expansion was just another word for conquest. Their entire state was geared towards one single goal: absorbing their neighbors through pure military force. This timeline just shows the whole crazy trajectory. They start out as just another kingdom. Then comes the innovation, the ire, and the professional army, and that directly leads to them becoming a regional superpower. From there, they just explode into the first great empire the world had ever seen, controlling territory all the way from Egypt to Persia. The connection between their military power and their growth is just crystal clear. Now, this is the key takeaway, the most crucial point. For the Assyrians, the army wasn't just for defense, it wasn't just one part of the state, it was the state. War wasn't a last resort for them. It was the engine of their entire economy, constantly being fed by the tribute, the resources, and the slaves they got through conquest. So you can really boil the entire rise of Assyria down to this simple but incredibly powerful formula. Step 1, master a game-changing new technology. Step 2, build a highly efficient system to take full advantage of it. And step 3, use that combined power for aggressive expansion. It's pretty much the blueprint for empire. And all of that leaves us with a final, really interesting question to think about. The Assyrians leveraged iron. So today, what are the game-changing technologies and systems that are shaping the powers of tomorrow? Whether it's AI or cyber warfare or something else entirely. What is the iron weapon of our time?